Welcome everybody to this another one of my story times, my storytelling moment. Okay, now it was just a few days ago I uploaded a video with a story time of my experience in the airport back in Jamaica back in 2013. If you haven't seen it, you can go to my page and it's there. It's also on my YouTube, Uniquely Kimoya Speaks Motivation. That video probably didn't belong on that page. It belonged on my other YouTube page channel. But anyways, yeah, I uploaded a video about a story, and I'm here to do another one of its kind. So welcome to today's video. Your girl Uniquely Kimoya here, and tonight I also want to talk about an experience in the airport. Now, I will try to remember the best way possible as I can. As I go along, I will try to remember as I go along. So now, of course, again, I don't remember which year it was. It might have been the end of 2013. Oh, it might have been my birth. It was definitely for my birthday, but I don't remember which year it was. Could have been 2013, could have been 2014. I'm not for sure. Maybe that is not that important. But I remember I had a hotel reserved for me in Florida, but this was in Hollywood, Florida. Is it Hollywood or Bollywood? I don't even remember anymore. But it was in Florida that I had a 4 nights reservation. Now, at that time in my life, I was working at the Privilege Club, and this is a vacation club. I was newly employed there, and I was selling timeshare, and I just needed to take a break for my birthday. And you were very privileged if you worked at Privilege Club. If you know anything about Privilege Club, back at the Grand Bahia Hotel in Runaway Bay. So, okay, so the night before I went to the airport, I slept in Runaway Bay at a quarters where, it was at this villa where a lot of the people who, I won't say the name, but it's like a little villa where most of the workers who came from overseas, some were from the Bahamas, some were from Mexico, quite a few of them were from Mexico, and even from America, from a few different places. I remember even one guy, he was from Belgium, and you know, he was also staying at this villa this was a villa that was reserved particularly for the people who were coming in from overseas to live at whilst working in Jamaica at the Privilege Club at the Grand Bahia. Even from the Dominican Republic, I think people came from, because timeshare is very prominent in places like Mexico, Dominican Republic, places in Jamaica. Different hotels in Jamaica sell this. This is like a membership, hotel membership, vacation membership. So I was dating my estranged husband. At the time, he was my boyfriend. He wasn't there, but he used to live at this villa. He's from America, and he used to live at this villa. So I was with him, but even though he was not in Jamaica at the time, I spent the night there, and I slept because he had his room and whatever, and I was able to sleep there. So I slept there the night before I went to the airport. But at this villa, there was marijuana. There was someone smoking marijuana in the house where I was staying in. It was another worker, and I don't know if I should say some things on the camera. But anyways, he lived in this same house as my then boyfriend, who eventually became my husband at one point too. But this other worker also was sharing the house with my boyfriend. So he was there, I was there, but he had his own room, and then he was smoking that night before, and the whole place was just filled with marijuana, and it stunk of the smell. You know how marijuana is very strong. Cannabis has a really strong smell. You can't hide it. You can't escape the smell. Now, in my room, I left my suitcase open with all my clothes and everything, because I had driven down from Brownstown, and I brought my stuff, all of my suitcase and everything that I needed for my trip, and my suitcase was there, and it was left open all night long. Okay? Now, I got up this morning, this particular morning, to go to the airport, head to the airport to take my flight. So, I arrived at the airport, and it's interesting. All right, so I got checked in. Everything was fine. I boarded my flight. Fast forward to arriving in Florida. At the airport, I think it was the Bollywood or something to that effect. Bollywood or Hollywood airport. It was in Orlando that I flew into. It was not Miami, no. It was Orlando. And, okay. As per usual, narcotics police, narcotics dogs are everywhere. I was in the line. I think before I can't remember if I had went to the carousel, the arrival carousel, to get my suitcase. I don't remember if I got it first or whatever. I was just in the line. But I do remember that the dog, they were doing their routine, walk through with the dog, and they're searching and whatever. And the dog, this canine, came over to me, and he just started fancying me. He was just fancying me. Mark you, before I go any further, put out this disclaimer. I was not smuggling weed. I was not smoking it. I had no dealings in drugs. It's just that I stayed in the house, that someone else was smoking the weed, and because the fact that I left my suitcase open, and I was in there and everything, all the smell. I mean, in that house, it seemed that you can see it's so, how should I say, dusty, I don't know. It had this look where you see the literal smoke. It was like that in this house most times, and the doors were most times closed, and the scent was always trapped inside. Whether it was tail weed or fresh weed or whatever, the smell was always inside. Little did I know. Anyways, I was in the line. The dog came, started fancying me, right? Because going through immigration or whatever, and of course, I became a person of interest because the dog is now fancying me. I was wearing slippers, I think, flip-flops, because it was September for my birthday. So, yeah, it was still summertime, and even in Florida, it's quite, it would have been warm even in cold cities, like even New York, for example. September is a little bit chilly, but in Florida, it was just almost as warm as Jamaica, I would say. Now, the dog was starting to lick on the top of my foot because I was wearing some kind of flip-flop or sandals. So the dog was licking on the top of my foot. And like I said, I became a person of interest. Now, eventually, I had to go get my suitcase. And of course, I was taken by the police. Again, I don't remember if I had handcuffs. Oh, no, I didn't. But of course, I was escorted because they're taking me to, the relevant and the necessary rooms for further inspection and further scrutiny. So I went to my suitcase. I went with them, and the dog, the whole time, this dog was just fancying me. He was just fancying me. He was just so, and I was like, when the dog just came over to me and started, I became so nervous because the fact that the dog was coming to me was, of course, a clear indication that something is not quite right with me as far as drugs is concerned, whatever the drug might be. Now, yeah, so I got nervous and I started to search myself, like think in my head, like, oh my gosh, am I not realizing? Do I have weed on me? Do I not realize that I have something that I'm not supposed to have? Well, I know it wouldn't have been cocaine, but the only thing I was thinking about was weed because I was just in the environment a few hours prior and even the night before. So I was thinking to myself, like, oh my gosh, what is it? Did I mistakenly bring something, or is there anything on me in my bag? And I was trying to stay calm, trying to stay cool and collective, but I mean, I was a nervous wreck because I didn't know for sure. And the dog wouldn't stop. So it's not like, oh, he just kind of sniffed me and went by. No, he was fancying me the whole time. He really liked me. He really loved me. And once a dog loves you at the airport and likes you, it's not a good sign. It's not a good... It's never a good thing. It's not like a dog who sees you out on the street and senses that you're a good person and likes you. No, in the airport, that's not quite the case. It's completely, totally something different. So, as everybody knows. So now I was brought to this room and I was surrounded by all these police agents. You wouldn't believe, all these officers. Was in the room. Females patted me down from head to toe. I mean, they searched me inside out. I was scrutinized to the core, I'm telling you. I was nervous. But the thing also, here's the thing also. I needed that trip because I was at a place in my life where I was a little bit, I was really stressed out. Not a little bit, but I was really stressed out. And I was just going through some personal things, and which is why I kind of needed that trip also for my birthday. I just needed to get away because I'm a frequent traveler. Something I should have mentioned in the beginning of this video, but I am a very frequent flyer. I travel a lot, not as much as I used to back in the day, but I enjoy traveling and I enjoy flying, which is also why I tattooed an aircraft on my hand. All my tattoos have meanings, by the way. I don't want to digress, but yeah, all my tattoos have meanings. So once you see something, it's coming from a very sentimental place, something in my heart. So now I'm a very frequent flyer, so I always, go away. I always take these trips, and sometimes also for my mental health, and for the restoration of my mental health. Also, I would always take a trip. I will always go overseas and go to different places. So I was patted down in this room though. They searched me in, they searched me out, and they weren't able to come up with anything. Of course, my suitcase, they would have to search it thoroughly. They searched my hair. I had just done my hairstyle, I think like the day before, maybe 2 days before my trip. I got my hair freshly done because of course it was coming up for my birthday, which was September 20th. And I got my birthday look, nice hairdo and wearing some nice clothes and whatnot. And they patted down under I was wearing extensions, but it was short. They patted down, they went under, they scanned me. I went through these machines, they did everything. They searched every crevice and corner you can imagine that would be in a suitcase. Every little seam, every pocket that you could find on my clothing, they searched it. They were not successful in finding anything that would be considered illegal or drugs. Now, so funny. All I remember, though, is that I stayed at that airport with those police for 5 hours. 5 freaking long hours in the airport trying to see what they could come up with, because the dog must have a really good reason to be fancying me, to be following me, to be licking up on me, to be loving up on me. He smelled something, and rightfully so. Now, they searched. Hours passed, 1, 2, 3 hours, couldn't come up with nothing. Now, I remember at one point, before they finally released me, after 5 hours, they released me because they couldn't find anything physical. They had to. But before we got to that point where they released me, I remember in my hand luggage, there was lots of paper. I have this little sack, like this little bag that I would put all my travel documents, my passport, of course, my boarding passes, and all these stuff I would have in this little Ziploc. It's kind of like a Ziploc bag that I always used to travel. Then it was a plastic transparent bag, and I would accumulate all these travel documents from previous trips. Like, I think I would have, between boarding passes and tickets and whatever the hell that was necessary for me, document-wise, for me to travel with, I would have that in that little sack. So I had lots of paperwork in there. Okay? I remember them going through, and they were asking me all these questions. I was interrogated to the T. They were asking me if I came for any work and this and that and that, because it was not very long before that I was in New York. And OMG. They searched to see if I was coming for work. They searched. Yes, I had also my reservation for my hotel, because obviously I would have that, because that's where I was going, and it was reserved ahead of time. So, I mean, they saw that I gave them all the information with the address, the hotel, all of that. They wanted to know how much money I was traveling with, how long I was planning to stay, and that, and what I do for work. Everything that the police, immigration police, and the narcotics would ask, they asked me. Every question in the book. Now, no wonder it took 5 hours. Now, as I was mentioning something about a document being in my little travel bag, there was this ticket that was from my previous trip, when I went to New York. And I remember it was from there was this document, though, that was, I think it might have been the year before. I think that year was 2014, if I'm not lying. And I remember I went to New York 2013, this summer. Yes, now I remember. 2013, I went to New York, which was my first time going to the U.S. that summer, 2013. It was either July or August or something. But I remember back then it was the father of my children. I was with the father of my children. He always buys my tickets and books, everything for me. Now, on that ticket for New York, I remember him writing, because he was kind of a troublemaker like this. He wrote, "Your ticket to freedom," on my ticket. Listen to this carefully. "Your ticket to freedom," he wrote, which was from 2013 when I went to New York. He wrote it on that for me. Don't ask me why. He was mischievous. He was just being, I don't know. I don't want to get into it, but he did write that, and I happened to have that inside of this little pouch thing with all my other documents. Now, fast forward to 2013, the police saw this, because they were going through every single thing that existed on me that day. And they saw that ticket. So high and holy. How do they say it? Huambilua. I don't know what they say. Something like that. Can't believe I'm Jamaican. My gosh. The officers saw that ticket, and they opened it, and they started asking me questions and said, your ticket to freedom, what does that mean? It raised such a red flag with these officers. It didn't sit well with them that I had something that was written, like a ticket to New York that was written, my ticket to freedom. It didn't sit well with them. They really went deep and they searched me inside out with questions. And of course, I was just giving honest answers because there was no reason for me to lie, whether with the immigration part of it or the narcotics part of it, none of it. I didn't have a reason to lie. Now, I remember I had to explain. I said, oh yeah, he's just my baby daddy. And he's like, because it was my first time and I always wanted to go. He was joking around and he jokingly wrote your ticket to freedom on it. And I think that's when they started to ask about work. At that point, they were asking me all these questions, if I ever worked in the U.S. and how long and da. But of course, all the information about me and anything regarding the country, the U.S., was in their system. It would have shown when I first came, which was 2013. They would have seen that, and they saw when I left, because I think I spent maybe 2 weeks that time when I went to New York the first time. And they would have seen that, and they would see, of course, based on all the reservation and all the proof that I have for my present trip that I was on, was that they are holding me hostage, I guess, holding me up for so long for, they would see that I have all the information, and it was all truthful information. And they were searching for a reason to send me back. After 5 hours long, they were not successful in finding any reason to send me back. I was not doing anything illegal. I didn't have any drugs. Because yes, about that part, they searched, they couldn't find absolutely nothing. And I was saying at one point, oh my gosh, did I have any little bit of stash of like, we call it 20 bag. 20 bag. In Jamaica, we call them 20 bag and 50 bag. You can buy a little bit of weed for $50 or $20 Jamaican, of course. And I was thinking, because I had also a little bit of cross bag on me, apart from my handbag, I had this little cross bag that was just big enough, I think, to hold like my phone, and probably could have held my could have held my passport in also. But it was just a little bag that while I was in Florida, going around in the day, going about touring around, doing my sightseeing or whatever, it would just be a little bag, just accommodate my phone, and if I had any pocket money or whatever, just to put in. It's just a small bag. Everyone knows those little cross bags, this big. So I was thinking, oh my gosh, do I have any? At some point, did I leave any? Because that's not a bag that I was really using regularly. But for that trip, I just grabbed it. And I mean, all kinds of old receipts that you could think of were in the this sack I'm talking about, and also in my little bag. And turns out that they ruled it that the reason why the dog, because they didn't understand, I didn't understand, but they realized eventually after I explained, and they asked me, yes, at one point they asked me, do you have anything, were you smoking weed before you came or whatever? And that at that point was when I realized that, oh my gosh, I had to explain to them what the place was like where I slept the night before. That I slept in a house where someone smoked weed, and I personally didn't smoke any. I made that clear to them. And that my suitcase was left open, because the dog was fancying also my suitcase, not just my leg or my body. So what had happened was the fact that I left my suitcase open, wide open, all night long. My hair absorbed all the smell from the marijuana. The clothes that I had set aside the night before to wear on my trip absorbed everything. Every single piece of thing I was traveling, every piece of clothes, everything, slippers, everything I had in my suitcase, it all absorbed the smell of the marijuana. And that is what they realized after 5 long hours of scrutiny and interrogation and probing me. So, oh my gosh. We all realized, both the officers and myself realized that, oh my gosh, it was that I left everything open and everything went in my hair. It went through even my pores, and that's why the dog also, it went into my pores and it was in my pores. It seeped inside of my whole system and my whole being. Oh my gosh, it was so crazy. And you can imagine also the embarrassment of walking through the airport with these police and the dog, because remember now it's the dog. So people are going to know that the dogs ain't going to make no mistake. It is what it is. It's not just these officers maybe suspecting you, whatever. The dog smells what it smells. The dogs smell what they smell. I think there were 2 K9s or something. I don't remember. Maybe it was 1. But the dog smelled what it smelled. And that was it. I was so embarrassed and I was a wreck because I was going through a really difficult time the night before. I had not slept well, if I slept at all. And I'm telling you, it was so insane. Now they eventually set me free, set me on my trip. And OMG, that was my experience again with the narcotics, this time in Florida, which I think was the only time outside of Jamaica. Yeah, I think. And I can remember for now, for the moment. But it was not funny though. To see how I was brought with, I think probably 3 officers and 2 K9 dogs. It was not nice. And I was really nervous. I was even more nervous this time than even when I was back in Jamaica and had that experience with the false reading, the inaccurate reading of my pee for cocaine, because I was even sure that time, because the fact that the dog saw me on this trip now made me think that I might have had something on me somewhere that I had unintentionally brought with me. That's the only thing I was thinking at first, and I was just hoping that they wouldn't have found anything. Because even though, while it wouldn't have been on purpose or trying to be a smuggler or anything, it would have really scarred me for life. It would have really, it would have been innocent, but an innocent mistake, but I would have to face all the penalties and all of the, and all of what comes with that. Like really, it was a scary moment. And I went to my hotel. It was such a long trip. You wouldn't believe, who would have thought that from flying from Jamaica to Florida, it would have taken so long. Well, actually, the flight in itself was not long. It was like, what, an hour and a half, maybe at most. But being in the airport for over 5 hours. And it's not like I had a missing suitcase and I was there trying to arrange my thing and file complaints and whatnot. It was just because all of my stuff had been, how do I say, daubed with the smell of weed. And I just wasn't able to give an answer or give a logical answer for it. It was kind of mind-boggling because they couldn't understand how they didn't find anything. They went through, the only thing they didn't do is break my suitcase to pieces, because in some cases they do that, to see if there's any compartment, to see if something is built inside of the suitcase. I'm even surprised they didn't do that. I'm really surprised they didn't tear my suitcase, like destroy my suitcase, just to see if they could find anything. That's the only thing they didn't do. But yeah, turns out that they realized, remember, they're experts in this field, so they realized, because I wouldn't have been able to really figure it out on my own. But it was at the point when they asked me, was I around somebody smoking it, or was I, something like that. And then I said, oh yeah, that's what happened. I slept in this house. Someone was smoking it. I left my suitcase open. The whole entire house just smelled of it, and they say yes, it happened. It went into your hair, through your pores, it's all over your clothes, and they realized that I was not guilty of anything. I had not committed any crimes, and I was set free, and that's it. And I went to Florida and spent my 4 days. It was not what I expected it to be, but it is what it is. I went. It was my first time seeing that side of Florida, or it was my first time being in Orlando, I think. I've been to like Miami and stuff, but that was my first time going to Orlando, I think. And yeah, I think while I was on the trip also, I took the bus and I went to Miami. One day I went to Daytona Beach or something like that. I spent the whole day at Miami. I even went to the Kardashians store. I went inside of the Kardashian store. It was called, what was the store called at the time? I don't remember the name of the store, but let me see if I can find the name of the Kardashians store at the time that I had visited. And I even bought me a shirt inside of that store, a nice blouse that wrote Dash. Ah, that's the name of the store. The store was called Dash. That was the name of the Kardashian store. And I went inside and I bought me a nice white shirt. I have it somewhere. I was even wearing it a few weeks ago. A white, nice, just a regular kind of body shirt with sleeves. Just a regular shirt, a blouse. And it read Dash on it. And I was just so excited that... Yeah, and it was a really exciting moment for me. The fact that I was able to say, oh, I went to the store Dash, which was owned by the Kardashian sisters. Oh my gosh. I was so excited, and my Dash shirt, and yeah. And I think that really made my trip, because I always wanted to go to see that store. I was a big fan. I'm still kind of a fan of the Kardashians even till today. But back then, I was a real fan. They were not even half as big as they are now. But, oh, wow. Because they were only filming the reality show for, I think, maybe 4 or 5 years at the time. So they're not even nearly as big as how they are right now. So I was just so proud to say I went to Dash. And I went in there and I think I took pictures. And I was asking, are any of the girls here? And they said, no, they won't be passing through the shop. I think they were out of town or something. That would have been either Kim, Courtney, or Chloe. And I was so disappointed that, oh my gosh, the girls are not at the store. And yeah. But I was proud to say I went to the Kardashians store, their actual store, and bought something. So yeah, it was a moment for me. I think that really made my trip though. But yeah, I went to Miami and I saw Miami. I think that was the only time I actually went to Miami, or maybe one other time apart from flying in there as like transit. But yeah, that was my real day out and spending in Miami the whole day. Yeah, that was it. I went back home afterwards, and it's just another trip that I will never forget. A trip that I will always remember, like the one back at MBJ, back in Jamaica, Sangsters Airport. So yeah, that's my second story time, guys. My second story, and my brush with jail time. Because imagine, I could have almost went to jail again because the dogs smelled what they did, and it was not a mistake. They were right. They did smell marijuana. It's just that they cannot hold on to your girl if they don't got no physical proof. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Let me taste this. Very salty. Cheesy. I don't know. But, yeah, it's good. So, yeah. That's it. Thank you for watching yet another one of my story times. I will try to see what I can conjure up and what I can remember as far as another story time goes. So stay tuned, you guys. Keep watching, keep smiling, and catch you in my next video. Ooh, baby, come to me, 'cause I love you, thinking of you. Oh, baby, come to me, gotta have you, yeah.
Okay, so I will try my best to see if I can find that dash white cute little top. It's a blouse, and I will try to attach it at the end of this video.
Okay, so here's my dash blouse. It was just so cute. It's very old, obviously. It's been more than 10 years, or maybe it's just around 10 years since I've had it. And as you can see, it's a little bit worn out. Even the writing is fading. It's a little bit old. Some of it is gone. But this is the blouse. This is my white cute dash top that I bought, that I mentioned in the video earlier. So there it is. I used to wear it out. Now I just wear it inside the house because it's, like I said, all worn out and so. But this is kind of the style of it, though. It's not that worn out. I mean, it's actually the style. This is how it actually looks. But because I know I've had it for so long, I know it's a little, yeah, it is actually a little bit worn out, but not much. And that's the dash on it. See? Yep.